Beloveds, take a breath with me. So much has already happened today, and between Lavelle and Reverend Lucas, I find myself a bit at a loss for words. And so instead of trying to say something broad and sweeping and general, I will tell you about myself. Start with the personal, and then get broader. So there are a number of reasons why I don't really like showing off my first tattoo. For one, it's on my chest, and a very good rule of thumb in ministry is to not take your shirt off in front of congregants. For another, I didn't take very good care of it, and so it's a little faded and spotty. But I'd also be lying if I said it wasn't a little personal to me. But to tell you about it, I have to tell you a little story. So I went to a high school that prioritized arts programming. Each student, when they come in, would pick a major and then receive 2 hours a day of their chosen art. I, unsurprisingly, was a theater major, and I had this classmate named Juan Carlos. He was a foot shorter than me, about 50 pounds soaking wet, an absolute spitfire, and I was head over heels for him. I bet he had his suspicions, but I never got the chance to act on those feelings because in my junior year, his senior year, Juan Carlos started to develop symptoms of a terminal illness that ran in his family, ultimately leading to his hospitalization. He managed to recover enough to be able to walk across the stage for his graduation, the proudest moment of his life. But not even 8 months later, he was back in the hospital where his condition worsened until he finally died. The following summer, myself and 3 friends got matching tattoos of his signature. His mother told us that he dreamed of being a doctor one day, so he would practice his signature all the time because doctors have to sign a lot of things. She managed to find a copy we could turn into a tattoo design, and on a hot summer Tuesday, we all went to have his name inked onto our bodies the way it had already been etched onto our souls. Now, certainly we were not being original. Getting a tattoo of someone's name is unsurprisingly common, but honestly, I kind of like that. It speaks to me how universal this impulse is, to want to attach this piece of someone to ourselves, especially after death. It tells me how human it is to hold on to someone like that. It shows me the truth that someone dying does not mean we have to let them go. I think it's a nice example of a quality of grief that we've been discussing in one of my classes this semester. The philosopher Robert Solomon, in his book In Defense of Sentimentality, identifies a number of different parts of the grieving process, but the one that stands out to me is this point that the things we do while grieving often have a dedicatory or commemorative quality. To translate from the language of grad school, when we're dealing with loss, we like to do things in someone's name or in their honor. It's that joyful grief that Lucas was talking about. We assign an intention to something we're doing or some place or some object and bind it to our memory of who or what we've lost, forever associating the two. I find it curious that Solomon feels the need to defend this sentimentality. Curious, though not all that surprising. As the modern world of the 20th century shifted to the postmodern world of the 21st, society has grown much more cynical. We're conditioned to default to skepticism and judgment, especially in the case of those quote-unquote negative emotions. Sentimentality is seen as foolish and grieving as wallowing in one's misery. Grief, in particular, has this connotation of being stuck in the past and unable to move on. But I, and Solomon, and I believe many of you, disagree with this worldview. Solomon argues that grief is actually a positive emotional process, and that grieving is an integral part of our lives. For Solomon, grief ultimately stems from love, and that grieving shares its obligations with love. One of those obligations is to repay the love we felt we have been given or given the chance to feel, and in this way, grieving is a form of gratitude. We can no longer say thank you to them in person, and so we construct new ways to offer these gifts of love. A plaque on a park bench for someone for whom that spot was sacred. Or in a room of a church for the minister that first helped it to flourish. Like those, the name engraved on my breast is not just a way for me to remember Juan Carlos, but to say thank you to him for everything that he did for me in the short while that I knew him. To say thank you for letting me love him even after his death. Yes. It reminds me of a fairly well-known quote by Ernest Hemingway. And there are many, many quotes like it, but to paraphrase, a person has two deaths. When they're buried in the ground, and when someone says their name for the last time. In a way, some folks are immortal. I think this is the ultimate expression of Solomon's grateful grief, that we love someone so much that we gift them immortality by invoking their name. And in that spirit, I would like to share a moment of gratitude with all of you. In a little bit, as you feel moved, please speak aloud the names of the people to whom you feel a debt of love. Together, let us thank them one more time. Stan, Georgia, Bob, Joyce, Dale, Juan Carlos, Imasala,
Chris,
Imasala,
Jason, Audrey, Joan, Uncle Bo.
To those who have gone before us, once again we have spoken your names, and once again we have extended your lives by another day. This we promise to do for you, just as we hope that one day our names may be etched on the souls of others and dance on their tongues long after we ourselves are gone. Peace, and may it be so.